I mentioned earlier that we're starting a quick two-part series. Johnny and I will be looking at how our relationship with Jesus actually impacts the Christmas season. This is a really important season. And I don't know about you, but for me, Christmas can pretty quickly become about all the things that I want to do and all the things that, I get. And honestly, I have 4 kids, and around Christmas time, my parents usually come to visit, and that is so helpful. It's fun for our family. My wife and I get to spend time around other adults whenever we're at home, which is great. And then there are some extra hands to help with the kids, and so that's really fun. It's so great that it also comes with a temptation. You might be able to guess it, but my temptation is to kind of disengage, to let the fact that there are more adults around helping with the kids allow me to kind of sneak back and start to do the things that I really want to do. And there's nothing wrong with my wife and I in this season wanting to kind of recharge and take some time to really utilize the help that my parents are bringing because they really want to be a help. But for me, it can become a focus. And then, I start to disappear and work on all the projects that I've wanted to do, that I've been too busy to do in the past. And so that's my temptation during this season. So around Christmas time, we all have something that we kind of think that we deserve. And it's something we think that we deserve to get, or we think that we should be served in different ways around the season. And so I know that this isn't just a temptation that I deal with. You might have a different one around the holiday season, but it's similar. The point is that once we start focusing on all the things that we want or that we're really excited about, and then that becomes our sole focus, whether it's trying to get all the rest that we can, watch as many shows, binge watch as much as we want, play all the video games that we want, and leave all the other stuff for everyone else to do. Whenever we begin to really just focus on that, then we've moved into selfishness. And so that's what we're going to be looking at today, some of the things that Jesus says about selfishness. It's something that each one of us has a natural bent towards. Each one of us thinks that we kind of deserve to be the greatest, the number one spot in our lives. We think that life should revolve around us and that we really deserve for other people to serve us. We think that at the core, that's really what we deserve. Like during the holidays, my mom and my dad, they do all the cookings, and that's for the sole purpose of me being able to go and play all the video games that I want uninterrupted. Or my dad, he puts up all the Christmas lights and he rakes all the leaves so that maybe you can watch all the shows that you want. But maybe that's what it is for you. Maybe you want to disengage and just have you time, do only fun things the entire time, the things that you would think are fun. Maybe your time with your family, the things that they want to do, takes away from that for you. Maybe you just want to be left alone. I felt that during the holiday season for sure. So what is it that you think that you deserve during the Christmas season? That's the question that I really want you to think about. What is it that you just can't wait to do, and that if you don't get to do that thing, you're going to be really frustrated or disappointed? We all have something. But here's really what Jesus says about our priorities. In Matthew 20, verses 26 through 28, he says, "Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be the first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." So if anyone deserved to be served in all of human history, it was Jesus Christ, God in flesh. But he showed us that the path to true greatness and impact is through serving. And as his followers, he invites us to serve him and others. So today I want to focus on a key idea that will really help us serve God and others more faithfully, not only at church, but also at home. Here's the idea. Serving is about your assignment. Serving is about your assignment. Now, the Corinthian church and the passage we're getting ready to read, they're a church that the Apostle Paul was writing to. He's a church planter, and he's giving them some instructions. And he'd heard that they had been arguing about which church planter, which big person in the church was the most important. Some were saying this guy named Apollos was a big deal, and other people were like, no, Paul's a pretty big deal. And so they were actually arguing about who was the greatest person that had worked in the history of the church. And this is Paul writing to them in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 5. It says, "What after all is Apollos, and what is Paul? Only servants, through whom you came to believe, as the Lord has assigned to each his task. So this verse, really what it's saying, is the key factor of greatness is service, not status. Paul says that he and Apollos are like everyone else in the church because they're servants doing the job that they have been assigned. There's a key part at the end of the verse that says, as the Lord has assigned to each his task. And so what they're saying is that we have different roles. God's made us differently, and he did that on purpose. In fact, he has assignments for each one of us to fulfill. So the key factor is service, not status. It doesn't matter what that role is. God made you for a specific reason, and whatever that role is doesn't make you better than another person. It just makes you different, and it's an amazing thing. So most of what we do here actually as a church is done by volunteers. Did you guys know that? There are a handful of people on staff here, but everything else that we do really is done by volunteers. And they're called volunteers because they're not paid to do the work. But the word volunteer often, especially right now, implies that what they're doing is not important. A lot of times in society we think, if it were important, we'd pay people to do this. But the fact is that that's not true, and that's definitely not how God sees what they're doing. He doesn't think it's unimportant. He's honestly not in need of volunteers to help accomplish tasks. What he's actually done is he's given important assignments to each person as they've decided to serve him. Instead, that's what he's done. So not volunteers or people that have been assigned. We'll still call people volunteers because the fact is they're still doing the work without being paid. But the goal with today is to switch from a volunteer mindset to an assignment mindset. So focusing on serving as assignments changes the way that we view serving in two different ways. I want to talk about those tonight. So the first way that it changes our view on serving is that serving God becomes a top priority. If you have a volunteer mindset and something comes up and your volunteer job, it gets bumped. You're like, hey, I'm just volunteer, I'm free labor. That's not something that I need to help with. Because a lot of times in our minds, it's not as important. But if you've been given an assignment from God, it could be the same exact thing. But if you view it as an assignment from God, then very little will stop you from doing it. And those who decide to follow Jesus have been given two important things. They've been given a church, and they've been given an assignment. So you're here today. So you did the first part. You got the church down. And so what I'd encourage you to do is to figure out what your assignment is. If you don't currently serve at the church in some way, honestly, you're missing out on some huge blessings in your life from learning to serve and grow in the character of Jesus. And so I would encourage you that your first priority really should be to find a way to serve here at the church. I mean, if you play a musical instrument, we got a band. If you have two hands, you can help tear stuff down. Everything that we do here on a Wednesday night is put up and torn down. It's organized. The band practices and to lead us in worship. They're all serving a really important function. If you are interested in media stuff, we have video recording that happens. If you're interested in the audio-visual side, we have audio-visual that can happen with the church. What I'm saying is that no matter what your skill level is or even your interests, we can find a place for you. And if it's not here in the student ministry, there are even plenty of things on a Sunday morning as a church that you can volunteer to do. So plenty of things for you to get involved in. So that's the first thing that changes. As we view serving as an assignment from God, serving God becomes a top priority. And the second thing that it changes is that it also changes how faithful we are to fulfill that assignment. If God has given you an assignment, that changes how faithful you are, because there's a switch that, this comes down from the top, from the big man himself. This is what I'm supposed to do, and so our goal is to then be faithful. 1 Corinthians 7:17 says this, "Nevertheless, each one should retain the place in life that the Lord assigned to him and to which God has called him. This is the rule I lay down in all the churches." And so the general rule that Paul is giving here to the churches is this: stay put and keep serving where you are until your assignment changes. Why? Serving is an assignment, and assignments don't change because you decide it changes, or because you just stop being interested, or you stop liking what you're doing, or it's getting tough. A volunteer volunteers until they get tired of it and they want to stop. But an assignment from God is like a military posting. Until your orders change, you stay put. Now, why is that important? I wonder what would happen at a military base. I just imagine this. At a military base, there are guards posted. And what do you think would happen if one of those guards, who's like guarding the main entrance, he's like, yeah, I'm done. I'm out. I'm going to go home and take a nap. I'm sure it's happened, and I'm sure it wasn't a good day for that person. But you'd be leaving your post. That'd be a little ridiculous. I mean, that would cause a lot of issues. They'd be unfaithful. I can't imagine that they'd leave their post. And so, honestly, that's how I view my assignment with you guys. God made it very clear a little over 2 years ago that my assignment was to be your student pastor. And God would have to be very clear with me for me to change that assignment. It would have to be so clear from God for me to do something else. So while I'm here with you guys, for however long Jesus wants, I expect that to be a while. My assignment hasn't changed, and so I'm going to do my best to be faithful with it. So when we view serving the way that the Bible describes it, we're much more likely to be faithful with our assignment. That's the goal. God loves our faithfulness. Being faithful means that you're reliable. When you're asked to do something, your leader can count on you to get the job done. They're not going to second guess whether, did I pick the right person? They're going to get it done. I mean, it means that they know that you're going to get it done. When you show up, work hard. Be committed. That's kind of the goal. If you're on a serving rotation, make sure you check your email and show up whenever it's your turn. And whenever you show up, have a can-do attitude. And so this is the part where I ask you a question. What do you guys think a can-do attitude is? What do you think, Eric? I can do it. Is there like you're just like physically able and it's like that's all you just have to show up and it's like, yeah, I can do it. That's fine.
No, it's just that you're willing to do it.
Yeah.
Just that you can, just that
Yeah.
you want to help out.
Yeah, crushed it. That you're willing to do it. Yeah. So you do it, you make it a joy. That's a can-do attitude. And I don't know if you guys know this, but God hasn't just given you assignments at a church where you can volunteer. He's actually given you assignments in your family. And especially around the Christmas season, this is whenever our can-do attitudes and fulfilling our assignments with our families gets tested. Let's be real. There's extra time around family. There's more freedom, and then also other things that we're being asked to do that take away from that. So this is really important. In your family, your assignment is either son or daughter. And if you have siblings, you have a second assignment. It's brother or sister. And those are not volunteer positions. Those are very intentional assignments given to you by God himself. And that he's worked out for you. He's worked out the family that you've been given, and he's worked out your assignment within that family. And he'll give you what you need to fulfill that assignment. For sons and daughters, here's the big assignment. Honor your parents. And what that means isn't just do every single thing that they say, but you need to love them and respect them by obeying them. In fact, just like obeying God shows that you love and respect him, it does the same thing with our parents. So this is something that we all struggle with, especially if you're in the middle of something you want to do and they say, hey, take the trash out. And you're like, ugh, I hated taking the trash out. Does anyone have that as like one of their jobs to do at their house? All right, other trash people. It's a good club. I did not like doing that because it required me to either remember on my own the night before, which I didn't do, and then I got distracted doing something I wanted to do, and then my mom would be like, hey, Andrew, it's 10:30 at night and it's really cold outside. I need you to take the trash out. And I'd be like, no. Anyway, so I didn't want to obey. But that's one of the ways that we really honor our parents is by listening to them and obeying them with a happy heart, with a can-do attitude. And then for brothers and sisters, you can get creative with this one too, but I would encourage you, if you're especially an older sibling, include your younger siblings in some of the things that you do. I was a younger brother. My older brother's 4.5 years older than me. And growing up, I just thought he was like the coolest dude. And immediately his friends were automatically cool. And anytime he invited me to do something with them, or that his friends vetoed his no and included me anyway, it was amazing. It was super encouraging. And so they're a great person to help practice putting other people's interests first with. So I'd encourage you over Christmas, think of ways that you can include your siblings, put their needs, interests first above your own. And all of this might mean doing things that you don't want to do. And, yep, being able to surrender some of the things that we want to do so that we can follow our leaders or parents is a really, actually, it's a huge sign of maturity and that God is really working in your heart. So in high school, I know we're just talking about our family assignments. In high school, I know that a lot of times you get focused on your future assignments. Like right now, you're in your household with your parents and you have a real opportunity to love them, to honor them, and be faithful in your assignment as a son or daughter. But often we kind of miss our current assignment. In high school, I did this all the time. I was thinking about college, my future job. Man, I can't wait till I'm out of this house and I'm responsible for myself. There were a lot of really cool things to look forward to in the future. But I really missed my assignment. You can do the same thing. So your faithfulness actually to your current assignment as a son or a daughter, brother or sister, and even the place that you serve at the church, it actually sets up success for your future assignments. For me, my current assignment, not only is to be your student pastor, but it's to be a husband and a father. God has called me to lead my family, to seek to put their interests above my own. I'm supposed to be the chief sacrificer for our family. So if someone's got to pay the price, it's usually going to be me first. And that's really my role. As a dad, I'm the one that's responsible for leading my family into the future, to do the things that God has called our family to do. And so I don't even view me as a student pastor as just an Andrew-only thing. I want to include my family in it. I want to include my wife, of course. That's why she's here. She's amazing. She loves Jesus. She's really a highly skilled person too. But that's why you'll see my kids around. I mean, in their mind, like they love you guys. They love students. They know that our family works with students. That's what Daddy does. That's what we do as a family. So whenever they're here, they really care about you guys. And that's a way that I can include them as a part of our family's assignment. So our whole family cares about you all. Now, I told you about my struggle at the holidays is to stay engaged. You know, there's a garage with lots of fun stuff that I like to do in it. and if I go out there too often, one of the things I'm really grateful for is my wife. She's on my team, and she really wants to be a help for me. Several of you are siblings. And as you go through the holiday seasons, you'll be around each other, and you'll start to see your sibling kind of going off and doing the thing that they really want to do whenever they've been asked to do something else. And you can be a help. That's what my wife does for me. Whenever she sees me going out to the garage too much or starting to disengage, she goes, "Hey, man, how are you doing?" She doesn't call me man. Whatever. But she helps me stay focused during the holiday season. So my goal this holiday season is really to stay focused on others, specifically my family, serve my wife and my family, and stay engaged in what we're doing. That's my goal for the holiday, but what about you? How could you focus on serving over Christmas? What things could you do during Christmas to be faithful to your assignment as a son or a daughter? Or what would it look like for you to have a can-do attitude as you fulfill that assignment as a son or a daughter? I'd encourage you guys to think about that during our group time. Let me pray. God, thank you that we can know you and walk with you. God, thank you for your word. Thank you that you have uniquely created each person here. God, you've given us, as we've decided to follow you, you've given us a church and an assignment. I pray that for anyone here that's curious about things that they could do, to volunteer with the church, to get training in that way in their walk with you, I pray that they would take initiative to ask some questions or to raise their hand and say, "Hey, I want to help." God, and for those that are already serving, I pray that they would do that job faithfully with a can-do attitude, because we know that honors you. And God, for each one of us, and whatever assignment you've given us within our families, I pray that we would do those faithfully with a can-do attitude, that we would really honor our parents, that we would love our siblings and our family. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.